Hey everyone, welcome back to Film Tremble. In today's video, we are going to talk about Pawn Stars Corey's biggest jackpot deals. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and also leave a like on the video. Now let's get started. Leather jackets have always been and always will be cool, and vintage ones can fetch a good price if they're in good condition. When a young woman brought in a handmade leather jacket, she didn't know much about it, and the label inside saying East West Musical Instruments made her think that there was more to it. Since the label was the only clue to go on and he knew next to nothing about it, Corey called an expert to come and check it out. Much to everyone's surprise, the expert concluded that the jacket was made by a company famous for making leather goods for rock stars like Elvis Presley, Bruce Springsteen, and Janis Joplin back in the day. Since that kind of jacket is in good condition is quite rare, its value is somewhere between $2 and $3 grand, so the haggling began. In the end, the young woman was happy to part with it for $2,000, which is $1,500 more than she initially wanted for it.
I'll do $2 grand. That's the most I've ever paid for a jacket, and it's...
Here we have a customer who brought an original contract from NHL's greatest hockey star, Wayne Gretzky. Corey and Chumley happened to be behind the counter and were curious about the item, with Corey saying that many people don't know anything about hockey, but everyone knows about Wayne Gretzky. Since he was interested in getting the item, Corey inquired about the asking price, and after learning it was $3,000, decided to call in an expert to check it out. The expert concluded that the contracts are hard to come by, and that it's pretty hard to gauge their value because of that. Still, this one turned out to be 100% authentic and worth around $4,000. The customer was happy to hear that, and he wanted to get at least $3,000 for it, which was still too high for Corey, who offered him $1,500 instead. After some haggling, both sides agreed on $2,100, even though the item isn't something really sought after, and the Pawn Stars would have to put on an ad to let everybody know that they have it. Nevertheless, considering that hardcore collectors are always willing to splash some serious money for certain items, there is no doubt that Corey scored quite a lot. The moment when Marilyn Monroe sang Happy Birthday, Mr. President in a sultry voice for John F. Kennedy at his birthday celebration became pretty iconic, as it was one of her last public appearances before her death less than 3 months later. In season 14 of the show, a guy came into the pawn shop looking to sell a Leroy Nyman painting that showed that very moment, hoping to get $6,000 for it. The price seemed a bit too steep for Corey to buy it unchecked, so he called an expert named Chad to appraise it. After seeing the painting, Chad said that a high retail price for it could probably go up to $7.5 thousand, while a more realistic retail price was probably around $6,000. Corey, of course, made a much lower offer of $2,500, saying that he will have to have it framed and would have trouble selling it.
All that being said, I'd like to offer you $2,500.
All that being said, in the end, the guy shook hands at $3 grand, and despite everything Corey said, there's no denying that he eventually made a ton of money on the painting, as everything related to Marilyn Monroe and JFK sells more than well. Upon hearing that a man was willing to sell his customized 1932 Ford Roadster, Rick and Corey couldn't help themselves but go and check it out in the 28th episode of season 6. The jet black 500 horsepower convertible with just 450 miles on the clock was in pristine condition, and the owner was hoping to get $105,000 for it. Obviously, such an old vehicle is rarely found in such impeccable condition, and with only 450 miles under his tires, Rick didn't waste time to start negotiating. However, this couldn't have gone without Rick's expert, so Danny the Count Coker, Vegas custom car legend of counting cars, another reality TV show that's a spin-off of Pawn Stars, was called in. The Count fell in love with the car as much as Rick did, so he gave Rick the green light, appraising the car at around $70,000 to $75,000, which was considerably lower than what the guy asked for in the beginning. Rick made an offer of $65 grand, but the owner simply wasn't willing to go below $70,000. After intense negotiations, Corey stepped in and managed to get the owner down a couple of $1,000s, and they shook hands at $68,250, leaving enough room for the Harrisons to make quite a bit of profit. Back in season 7, Corey decided to prove to his father and grandfather that he should get an ownership stake in the pawn shop. A perfect opportunity arrived with the lawyer David, who came into the shop looking to sell a 15th century samurai sword. The man got the sword as a collateral from a client that didn't come back to claim it, so David decided to sell the sword with no idea whatsoever how much it is worth. During the backroom confessional before the negotiation with the sellers took place, Corey said that he had seen a few of those swords going for thousands of dollars, which makes his measly opening offer of $800 ridiculous and well low in every sense. After some haggling, they struck a deal at $1,500, which is a steal, but the unfortunate and unprepared lawyer said that he wanted to jump up and do the dance how happy he was. The expert was brought in later on and finally estimated the source value around $5,000 to $6,000 in its current condition. However, it could go up to $15,000 if Corey decided to undertake a $3,000 restoration. In Chumley's words, that's a score. That's all the time we have for today's video, guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see y'all next time.